morning, everyone. So thank you for joining this webinar. This webinar is basically based on the report key takeaways, a joint report that Nasscom did in a partnership with Everest Group. The report was titled The Global ER&D Shift, Evolution of Engineering Services in India's Competitive Edge. Here, the idea is to basically delve deep into the findings from the report and also look at how does it affect Indian engineering service providers and what are the key trends that are there. So, global ER&D landscape and the ER&D market overview, I just would like to cover that quickly and also touch upon the enterprise engineering priorities, how they're shaping up across different industry verticals. Yeah, so the aerospace and automotive, I think, aerospace and defense and automotive, I think these are two critical, verticals. When we look at these two verticals, what's really, what are the key growth drivers, headwinds, and how the engineering priorities are shaping? We want to look at aerospace and defense ER&D first. And when we see this vertical, we see that this vertical is facing cost pressures and supply chain challenges, and because of but actually the innovation is happening on the side of AI-driven design, digital twins, and autonomous systems. And with the rising investment in the defense modernization, as well as the space tech, engineering priorities are actually shifting towards software-defined, more connected, and sustainable innovation. When we look at the automotive, which is again close to 13 to 14%, share, commands the 13 to 14% share of the global ER&D spending. Currently, this sector, this specific vertical, is balancing cost, regulatory, and supply chain pressures amid the shift to electrification and software-defined vehicles. Growth is driven by EV platforms, ADAS, and connected mobility, and which is actually pushing the engineering priorities toward AI-led design, embedded software, and sustainable product innovation. When we look at the consumer electronics, energy and utilities, again, energy utilities is also one of the key verticals here. It is close to 7 to 8% of the global ER&D spending for the enterprises. And when we look at this specific vertical, we see that this vertical faces the decarbonization pressures and infrastructure modernization challenges, while the growth is fueled by renewable integration and the smart grids and digital automation. And as such, the engineering priorities are shifting toward AI-enabled asset intelligence, grid resilience, and sustainable energy technologies. Moving on to the next, I think healthcare and medtech, which is again a relatively a smaller share, 4 to 5%, and then industrial products, which is again a very critical, sector, very critical area. On the industrial sector, when we look at this, on the industrial products ER&D, when we see this vertical faces margin pressures and legacy system constraints, but the growth is driven by smart factories, automation, and industrial IoT. As such, the engineering priorities are shifting toward digital twins, AI-enabled design, and sustainable connected product ecosystems. When we look at the healthcare and medtech ER&D, and this specific vertical is constrained by regulatory complexity and cost pressures. Yet growth is accelerating through the pervasiveness of digital health solutions, digital health infrastructure, and AI diagnostics, more intelligent diagnostics, and connected medical devices. And this is helping the engineering priorities to shift toward more software-defined, patient-centric, and data-driven innovation. Moving on to the next verticals, ISV and Internet is one of the key verticals which commands the highest share of global, enterprise ER&D spending, as well as I think one of the key, vertical now is semiconductor, given all the things that are happening around us, and in the area of semiconductor and similar, areas. ISV and Internet, I think this one sector stands very high in terms of share of ER&D spending, and the reason is basically the whole focus on the software and the product engineering, and how this sector actually touches some of the other verticals in a sense, and that's why the share is high. When we look at the industrial, when we look at the ISV and internet ER&D, it faces intense competition, rapid technology cycles, and rising cloud costs. And cloud is a very important pivot here. While growth is fueled by AI native applications, platform modernization, and hyper personalized digital experiences. And the engineering priorities are shifting toward cloud native architectures, and cloud remains one of the key area of focus and key spending bucket for some of these enterprises. And engineering priorities are actually again shifting towards the cloud native architecture, generative AI integration into the applications, and more data driven product innovation. Semiconductor ER&D faces rising design complexity, talent shortages, and supply chain volatility, even as growth accelerates through AI chips, edge computing, and advanced node innovation. Engineering priorities again are shifting toward chiplet architectures, design automation, and energy efficient semiconductors. Lastly, the telecommunication sector, which again is 8 to 9%. Here we see that the telecom ER&D is challenged by capital intensity, legacy infrastructure, and spectrum costs. Yet growth is driven by 5G expansion, network virtualization, and edge intelligence. And therefore, the engineering priorities are pivoting towards software-defined networks, AI-driven automation, and next-gen connectivity platforms. When we look at the trends in the global ER&D landscape, shifts in the business environment impacting ER&D, emerging technological disruptions transforming the ER&D market. So there are disruptive shifts that are happening. Shifts in business technology are driving a transformation in how enterprises approach their engineering mandates. When we look at the business disruptions, such as the geopolitical tensions around us, the IP nationalism, tariff pressures and trade barriers, ESG mandates and regulation, these form the bucket of those business disruptions that are playing out for some of these engineering enterprises. And also on the technology disruptions part, when we look at the emerging generative AI adoption, software-defined products, connected ecosystems and IoT, next-gen connectivity, such as 5G and edge computing integration, and digital manufacturing. These are some of the forces at play. Coming to the breakup of the exact picture into of how the ER&D outsourcing currently is. So out of the total, the total enterprise spend currently, ER&D enterprise spending currently is around close to 1.5 trillion US dollars, out of which close to 5 to 6%, 81 to 82 billion dollars is just the ER&D outsourcing. Now, this spend actually differs very much from how the state of affairs is for the IT, outsourcing, or say BPM outsourcing. Most of the ER&D outsourcing spend is actually is not outsourced. ER&D spending is not outsourced. And there's again that means there's a good headroom for growth for the overall overall ER&D outsourcing sector. In the last few years, we have seen that between 2023 and 2024, the global enterprise ER&D outsourcing hasn't actually moved much. It has grown at a very sluggish pace of 4.5 to 5.5%. However, this is higher than the IT services, outsourcing, growth rate, which again hovers in the range of close to 4 to 4.5%. Now, this is for the overall. This is for the global enterprise ER&D outsourcing. We also have a breakup for the Indian ER&D, headquartered companies in this report that we have actually mapped, and also we have provided some projections that by 2030, what will be the state of affairs for the enterprise ER&D outsourcing, enterprise ER&D outsourcing, based on the coverage of just the India headquartered HT service providers. So, and we know what is actually leading to this trend. Again, in the next 4 to 5 years, we are seeing that this ER&D outsourcing actually is going to accelerate, and this is going to be growing in the range of 8.5 to 9.5%. And again, we know some of the key drivers for this. Again, how the enterprise outsourcing is expanding beyond cost savings to core digital engineering. We know that trend very much, and now with the advent of Gen AI, there's a lot of spend which is being dedicated towards AI-driven product development, deepening long-term demand, and those areas. So as such, the outsourcing growth momentum will continue. Moving forward, I think when we look at again from outsourcing perspective only, when we look at the vertical-wise enterprise ER&D outsourcing, ISV and the internet vertical actually makes up for the biggest share. And the key areas here, again, as I just touched upon, is that this vertical is very much to do with all the developments around the software and platform engineering, and how those actually now remain central to the ER&D. When we look at the automotive sector, some of the other areas also are being highlighted here, and some of the and what the share of the ER&D outsourcing is. Now, ER&D outsourcing growth in the future is So this is becoming more ER&D outsourcing growth continues, and the more focus on the data-driven engineering and emerging micro segments. And these are some of the trends that are playing out. When you look at the platform development, the demand for Industry 4.0, smart manufacturing, and again the strategic growth areas that are emerging around SDVs, global capability centers. Again, that's also a key trend that is affecting this, and custom ASICs and connected products, and then uptake in demand for data and AI-centric services. We also conducted a survey as a part of this report, and what we found is that the key challenges that the enterprises face today, and one of the key challenges that they face is basically around engineering talent shortages and tool chain skill gaps, product complexity, and cross-domain integration. And these two remain again the key areas of focus for some of in terms of challenges. They remain some of the biggest challenges for the engineering enterprises to solve for. And 90% of the respondents say that for them how their sourcing priorities are changing. Basically, is they're focusing more on the time to market and delivery agility, and this is becoming critical for different industries. And that means the pace of innovation at which the products are getting developed, and how the R&D progresses, that is actually becoming very, very fast. These cycles are becoming very shorter. And then again, there's a lot of focus. 80% said there's a lot of focus on the cost efficiency and flexible models, and that means that they're just not focusing on cost efficiency. They're actually looking at some more value from some of these commercial engagements. Moving on to again, this is a very important slide which talks about that how the engineering ER&D outsourcing is moving beyond traditional pricing by adopting flexible value-linked commercial models to drive strategic alignment. When we look at the outsourced deal segmentation by pricing model, we see that the market is moving, the market is moving away from the time and material and fixed price to more of value-driven joint GTM and outcome based and output and outcome based basically models. Now coming to this one, which is again leading ER&D services delivery hubs. We did a sort of a mapping. This is again just a short summary of that, but we see that the offshore locations account for close to 70% of overall engineering services and engineering services. And the 10% is basically nearshore locations account for 10%, with onshore accounting for the remaining 20%. And out of this 70%, offshore ER&D service delivery, India actually accounts for roughly two-thirds of the offshore delivery. So India ER&D services ecosystem. when we look at this again, this is based on some of the service providers, India headquarters service providers that we actually have mapped here in terms of what is their total ER&D, outsourcing, currently outsourcing spend dedicated to all the Indian headquartered, ESPs. And we see that by 2024, it was in the range of $21 billion. And what the market has actually grown in the range of 5 to 6% in the last 1 year. However, again, before that, what we see, it was growing at a very fast pace. And at this last 1 year, between 23 and 24, has seen some impact, a negative impact. And these are some of the key providers that we have actually talked to. Now, looking forward, the three scenarios that we have built on, we see that at accelerated growth and baseline growth and disrupted growth, we see that from a current $20 to $21 billion spend, we can go to 31 to 32 if we grow at in the range of 7 to 8%. However, if this growth accelerates, beyond 7 8%, if it goes as high as 11 to 12%, will be 38, 39, and then again accelerated growth 14 to 15%, which is less likely to achieve that. But again, this is still 2030 estimates that we have with us, so we'll be landing between 46 to 47 billion dollars. This is only for the India headquartered engineering service providers. And lastly, I think I'll just quickly wrap up with the outlook and strategic imperatives. So again, the important thing to look at is that what are the key trends to watch out for next for the ER&D industry. The next wave of ER&D services growth for Indian providers will be impacted by some of the advanced emerging technologies such as quantum, how the role of physical AI will shape up in the next few years. Given the whole developments around and adoption of the robotics and the movement more towards autonomy, from automation to autonomy, and how the GenAI, agentic AI, will become a key fabric for the ER&D industry. How will it be used right from the R&D to product development to process optimization. Then again, a GCC provider collaboration, how these two entities will form more strategic partnerships, and what's out there for the ER&D outsourcing providers, very critical to look at. Again, and AI again impacting the overall ER&D talent pyramid in terms of what kind of skills will the industry need tomorrow, and how do we really prepare ourselves for that. And lastly, I think on the ER&D growth will hinge on actually innovation and risk management, and India's ER&D sector is poised for sustained growth, but progress could be impeded by talent shortages, which is currently India's, which is the most positive thing for our country currently, other than the cost arbitrage. So I think I'll leave everyone with this slide, that the technological imperatives and business imperatives. So I think at this point, very important, not just for the global engineering service providers, but also specifically the Indian engineering service provider. It is basically to look at how they can really scale IP led innovation for their enterprise clients. How can they build more IP-led platforms? How can they enable innovation through some of these labs and ecosystem around labs that they are actually investing in. Leveraging AI again, this is very important. How do you lead the whole Gen AI, agentic AI race through more productized offerings, more IPs under your belt, and more reusable frameworks? How do you become future ready in terms of your talent positioning and talent, future talent availability, and how do you reskill, upskill your workforce, and what is your current partnerships with academia, how you're basically leveraging that to move up the ladder. How are you basically leveraging your COEs and lab ecosystem, not just for your client pursuits, but to rebuild, reskill talent internally? And again, very important is to look at the emerging tech waves, keeping an eye on what's next after AI, Gen AI, right? How do we develop more POCs, use cases, and how do we tap into some of the advanced technologies that are out there. Then again, on the business imperatives, it's very important for us, for the whole country, and for the providers, Indian ESPs, to develop a product-led leadership, and for that they should do more product co-creation. It should leverage the emerging innovation hubs and clusters in the country, and reposition themselves, or basically reposition their investments, focus on some of these emerging innovation hubs. And how do they reimagine their business models, moving towards more outcome-based commercial models, contracts, and how can they explore new markets? How do they reduce dependency on specific geographies? How can they tap into new emerging geographies, moving beyond the barriers of language, culture, etc.? And how can they identify new sectors? These could be some niche sectors, or these could be some new territories that they haven't actually really positioned themselves for in the past. And how can they basically diversify their portfolios, and then and how can they keep an eye on the sustainability led growth, so that the services are more sustainable, and more sustainable in nature. So this is my closing slide. I would like to leave everyone with this QR code. I think this will help you to download the report and go through the report, which is a very detailed one. You would find much more details around your areas of interest for your specific verticals, and more deep dives into some of the things that we covered in this webinar. So thank you.